Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll call this regular select board meeting on July 5th, 2022 at 6:01 PM. Okay, any changes, additions to the agenda?
I got two things. Gravel, to award gravel tonight, gravel bid,
Yeah, okay,
and to talk about purchasing policy.
okay, any others? If not, approval of the previous meeting on June 19th, I believe, 18th. No, it's the 21st, actually. I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made second to accept the minutes as written for June 21st, 2022. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
so passed. Okay. The next thing is open the bids on the blacktopping.
No, we were gonna advertise that, Mike. That
Yeah, we
happened, right?
did. I saw it in the
Yesterday, I
newspaper.
emailed Rosa today, she didn't get back in time, so I did some research myself, and I got the printout right here that it wasn't Deer Valley, no.
Yeah,
Was it a Deerfield Valley News? What date
Yeah.
was that?
last week,
I think last Friday.
last Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday to Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thursday. Comes out.
And
Thursday.
we posted it around town?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Got, I don't know what there is here, 5, 6 bids. 4. 5 bids. I guess. Patrick 2 and. I'll give you 2 and I'll have 1.
There we go.
Okay, the first one is from Sunapee Paving LLC in Springfield Paving in Claremont, New Hampshire. And price per ton is $106.73. Shoulder material price per ton in place is $91.16. I don't see anywhere they're claiming on this one.
No, it's just a shim and overlay.
Okay. Will you get them figures?
Want me to put it up again?
Yeah. So people, other people can see it.
Say it was 106 a ton,
106.73 cents,
and then shoulder was 91. something.
91.16.
And it's just for gravel.
No, this is for blacktopping.
Is that
No, we don't even have it on there.
black? top? We saw. Is it the same delivered and picked up?
Wow, they're gonna deliver it, because they're gonna put it on the road,
Okay,
blacktopping, you know.
all right, what's the company's?
Springfield.
Springfield, no, it's not a paving. Used to be Springfield paving, I guess.
Summit. Wait, I don't know if they can see this. Let's see.
Okay, price per ton with a blacktop is $106.73 a ton.
So instead of calling it blacktop and calling it, just call it dollars per ton of asphalt, right? Over
Yeah.
there. Right.
And then shoulder material, price per ton is in place is $91.16.
Right, right. So underneath the dollars per ton over there.
Yeah.
Right, put another dollars per ton for shoulder.
Shoulder, yeah.
Right.
On the
Right,
shoulder.
and the top one, label the top one just paving, I guess.
Paving.
Right. Okay. Right. Sorry.
That's 91.16.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So this is like a, I think it's a back page from us, but this is Bazin Brothers. And they're quoting for the paving $107.25.
Mhm.
And then for the shoulder material, $45. And then they also give some totals here,
Yeah, wow.
so.
Where are they located?
Westminster.
Oh, okay.
Westminster, Vermont.
Yep,
They're the ones that done it last year for us.
Okay.
Last few years.
Yeah,
and now we have All States Construction. This is a very detailed bid. It's got
this
insurance,
one was too.
there's insurance certificates. and
Yeah,
everything
right,
here,
my-
so. Right, so the paving is $112.50.
This is Allstate.
Yeah, All States Construction. And there is Sunderland, Mass. So 112.50, and then the shoulder material is 40.
What was their shoulder?
40.
Okay, and this one is Peckham Road Corporation, Hudson Falls, New York.
And that's what,
Hudson Falls, New York. And their price per ton for paving is $125.95. And for shoulder material, $48.35. And then the last one here is from Northeast Paving, Northfield, Mass. And their bid is $131 for the asphalt and $89 for the shoulder material.
Okay. You got them prices.
Oh, and then just to, Basin was estimating 2866 tons, 2,866 tons. Right, and so I mean, I would think that would be, is that how we do it? I mean,
Yeah,
we do
well,
it-
this is the same thing here,
Okay.
because
I gave them an
that's
estimate.
the
Okay,
figures he gave. us.
right, so what I was getting, and then we had 600 tons of shoulder material. Right, so there's about a fifth of, in terms of the total dollars, right? Whatever the
We're
shoulder,
supposed to wear shoulders, we can do ourselves.
okay,
I mean,
but I mean, if we're just looking at these numbers, right, the shoulder is only 1/5 of the paving, right? So it doesn't influence the bottom line as much, right? That's all I'm getting at,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, I think the way it looks to me is,
I would go with Basin.
I think
They're
Basin,
a dollar, not quite a dollar more expensive on blacktop.
about 50 cents more, 50,
Way cheaper on
52
shoulder.
cents.
Right, so that's about $1,500, right? There, but it's 40, I mean, compared to Sunapee, right, it's almost $40,
Yeah.
right? Times 600, so that's 2,500. So at the bottom line for Basin is lower,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Than it is for.
Yeah. I make a motion, we-
anyone else.
Mike, were you happy with them?
Basin did that half a mile down on Green River and it come out extremely well.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they've done it.
Yeah, that's good.
we've had them do
They
some
did
work
the
before.
upper section of Collins Road
Yeah,
from Tony Hanson to the town line.
Okay,
yeah, they're a real good company. Okay, I make a motion, we award the paving and the shoulder to Basin Brothers in Westminster.
I'll second that.
Any motion, it made and seconded, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
so passed. So they got the same thing here.
right, so that's where the numbers came from, Mike.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, Mike gave it to him. All right, the next thing is to, so you let them know then,
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
someone's gonna make a purchase agreement.
yeah. Maybe you can work with Rosa on that,
Yeah, I gotta talk to Rosa after the
okay. All right, the next thing is to sign a contract with the Windham County Sheriff. Okay, this is a agreement that the amount of money for the next fiscal year, starting July 1st. And in our budget, we had $10,000. I'll make a motion, we sign the contract.
What's the bottom line on the contract? Is it within the budget?
No. What we do is we raise so much
Yeah.
and we tell them.
Yeah.
And then they figure it out per month.
Okay. Okay, all right, so then that dictates how many hours a month. we get. Okay, all right, I'm with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I made that motion.
Second,
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion made second to accept Windham County Sheriff's for a contract with the police and in the next fiscal year. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Somebody's hands up. I don't know. It went down. Okay. The next one is the no trespassing notice. Now we got this Timothy Masters and had trouble with him in the past, and still having trouble with him. And Patty and I guess,
It was Andy that brought it up to do it.
yeah, okay,
Deputy sheriff called me today and they still haven't ran into him yet, so they're thinking about just sending it certified mail.
okay.
and so this prohibits him from
All
what?
town property.
All town property.
Okay,
And the school's done the same thing.
so the school, the garage, this building,
That's it.
that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we agree to this.
sorry, I just have a question. Is this just for this one person or
Yep.
is this for?
No, no,
This
it's
is
just
a
one
special
person,
Order for this one person. Okay. Thanks.
Timothy Masters.
Yeah. I remember.
Okay. Make a motion and we agree to this. No trespassing on town property.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and second. We agree to this notice for no trespassing on the town property for Timothy Masters. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye. Because Paul knows all about it, because I think they had a special meeting.
Yeah, we did.
So now, Bobby, I think Chum said something about school wanted a notice from us, a letter that we,
Yeah, some kind of, something to say why this trespass notice was, why is there a concern about the town property, at least as it pertains to the school or the town office?
okay,
Just,
so,
Amy thought that it would be a good idea to, rather than just saying, oh yeah, you asked us to, we'll sign it without having any of the concern. So that's all.
right. Okay, I think we can probably get something,
Probably talk to Andy, he's the one that brought this whole thing
Yeah.
to attention.
well, I've talked to Andy a bunch on this, so why don't I work with Rosa? to
Okay,
Put a letter
sure.
together.
okay, that'd be great,
All right.
Doesn't have to be anything too fancy, just email
No.
will be fine.
right,
Okay, we'll take care of it, Paul, thanks.
Cool, thanks.
okay, the next on the thing was nominate a local leader to participate in the third Vermont Community Leadership Summit on August 10th. And I believe that's up in Randolph, I think. Remember right? Yes, at the Vermont Technical College in Randolph. And I got an email from Tristan and he'd like to go to that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I was putting my name forward. If anyone else was interested, I'm happy to discuss that, but I was going to volunteer to do it. Looks like a good event.
I'll nominate Tristan to go to the local, third Vermont Community Leadership Summit on August 10th.
A second.
Okay, motion made second to have Tristan participate in the third annual Community Leadership Summit in Vermont Technical College in Randolph. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah,
Aye.
thank you.
Thanks.
So you want Rosa to send something up to him or?
I can follow up with it myself. That's okay. I'll save her
Okay,
the email. Thank
got
you.
to be in by the, somewhere, I read it here. July 8th, which is Friday.
Okay.
Okay,
Hey Tristan, just, will you, when you come back, will you just let us know how it went and kind of the top line takeaways from that?
For sure.
okay, okay, the next thing is to sign a delinquent dog license warrant, which we got to do every year. Patty made this out for us to sign it. So she could give to Andy Rice the delinquent dogs.
Okay.
So I make that a motion that we sign that.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made second to sign the warrant pertaining to the unlicensed dogs. Any more discussion? It's a state law. You have to do it. The town clerk has to do it.
Okay, well then, guess we should.
Kind of
Yeah.
a no-brainer.
Yeah, I said to her the other day, I said to Patty, I said, geez, I don't think we ever got you ever gave us a warrant. I thought I did. She looked and she said, you're right. That was last year. That was a year
They
ago.
all run together, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, any more discussion?
I just, out of curiosity, have there been any delinquent dogs that have been reported?
Well, what she does is if they registered last year and they haven't known it, let her know that the dog is either they got rid of it or passed away or whatever.
Yeah,
That's on the list. So Andy has to go and check and see, make sure that if they're still alive, get it registered,
okay,
because the state law says they got to have the rabies shot.
right.
Yeah.
So, okay,
I see Stephen's got-
Stephen,
Yeah, thank you, Louis. I just wanted to ask, the licensing of dogs in town is based on the state ordinances? Because if I remember correctly, the town does not have a dog ordinance any longer.
no, this is a state,
It's a state requirement
right?
that the town enforces.
Yep,
Thank you. Thank you.
okay. All right,
Do we all need to sign that, Louis, or how's that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, any more discussion? None, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, everybody. All right. Okay, the next thing is the contamination cost, and I think Rosa got a talk with Pam. And I think everybody got a thing that they don't charge any contamination.
Yeah, they don't.
So, and then they sent down for 6 months this calendar year.
Okay, so this is about the recycling.
Yeah.
I thought this was, when I saw contamination costs on the agenda, I thought there was something new going on with like the properties on Branch Road or something.
Oh,
Okay, thank
this
you.
is recycling. So I think when we first started in, the cardboard price is so high, we didn't have to pay that much. And then it dropped, and now it's starting to go back up again. So like on the cardboard and stuff, we don't pay as much. Second figure is they do on the commingled cans and bottles and stuff, because there's not much of a market for that.
Hmm.
I mean, it's low, the price is low.
So, if I recall, this goes back a while, we were paying some hundreds of dollars per bin, right, when we have plastic bags in the,
Yeah, well, you see, it's $345
Yeah.
per trip.
Yeah.
See, that's that. And then you see, this changes. It used to be up, this figure here was, this is the cardboard and stuff.
okay,
Used to be up to $150, $200.
okay,
And now it's down to 56 because I think it's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
If not, when the price was high,
okay,
they gave back to the town a little bit.
okay. So that's the.
And then the
cardboard.
commingled, the price of to get rid of it is, the price is real low now. So that's why this figure is a lot higher.
So are we getting charged when we have plastic bags and stuff in the?
They say not. Because I thought they did with the contaminant,
Well,
might be
I
contamination.
know we used to, right?
Yeah,
But.
yeah.
So I guess if we're not getting charged for the contamination, then not, the plastic bags and all that's really not an issue
No.
anymore. But what might be an issue is that we have out of towners using dumpsters.
Well, it's hard to figure because someone might be renting or non-resident owns a property in town.
Yeah.
You can't stop them.
Right. Yeah.
Because they pay taxes too.
Yeah.
And that's about the only service they get besides the roads.
Are we within budget?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah?
think so.
Yeah.
It looks like, it.
Okay, so it's sort of a non-issue, I guess.
yeah, I think so right now. Okay, so I guess, let's.
Little hard.
I have a question.
Yeah,
If there's no charge for commingling, why isn't that called garbage? Now, I could see someone who says, okay, you can't commingle plastic bags in there now. Okay, so we'll do it anyway. I think that's a mistake.
I know it is.
Can I know we got some new signs up there. Can we, just try to stop, get a
Well,
bigger sign or
yeah,
something?
we've sent the tax bills in the past. No plastic bags and
Yeah,
stuff in there, but,
every time I go up there, I see.
oh,
it.
I know.
But I thought there was a big charge. That's to get rid of that. I thought I heard that earlier.
Well, it did, but it's not according to TAM, it isn't.
Yeah. I'm just afraid that people are gonna start throwing trash in there.
They've been pretty good most of the time.
Yeah. Every time I recycle, there's multiple bags
Yeah.
in there.
I think they figure might be 3% contamination,
Oh, that's it.
and they don't charge extra for that.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So is there a motion on that or something, Louis? The contamination costs, or was that just? for
I just
information?
the information, I would say.
There was some concern.
The last meeting, we discussed, there were some concerns, the costs were going up for this and that the service was not being utilized properly. Basically we're paying a lot for people not acting well. So this was a follow-up to that and just to come back with the data to see have more information whether there was a concern. It sounds like it's not the most concern as we might have anticipated. So there's no action item.
That's right. That's what I think too.
Go ahead. Just finished select board meeting, like I said. I have to pull up the agenda.
Janice.
Somebody need to mute?
That's, Janice and Chris, would you mind muting, please?
Okay. The next thing is email distribution. of meeting agendas. And forgot now who it was, sent an email and thought that,
That was my agenda item, so I can speak to that.
okay, go ahead.
I think we had, basically, I think between when we went from, we've had 3-4 different secretaries in the last couple of years, including me and Kara on and on filling in. And I don't think we've been consistent about what meetings we email agendas out in advance. And I just want to, before people, I think we probably ought to be emailing all the meetings or just select which ones we do. And if people are going to start getting more emails from us, they should understand why. So I want to suggest, I checked back with Rob and Gabriel, the previous secretary, and she'd been emailing out agendas for everything, Conservation Commission, Zoning Board, Select Board, Broadband, you name it, all of them. And I don't think that we've been keeping up with that. So I want to suggest that we ask Rosa that all agendas for all town commissions and committees get emailed out to our entire distribution list. And that's what I would suggest, but just wanted to ask if there's any feedback or anyone else has a different thought on it.
So we have a distribution list or an email list for people that have asked for.
Yeah, I
Correct,
was
like-
only for select board meetings. I didn't realize for all committee meetings.
Yeah,
And Rosa,
I-
that's not your mistake or anything. We had not been consistent, so that's why I wanted to.
Well,
And I think people in town might not know what to expect.
well, I mean, the people in town, I think it's ridiculous, honestly. I mean, everybody knows that the school board or whatever boards they're interested in when they meet, they typically don't have surprise meetings. They're first and third Tuesdays, first and third Wednesdays. Planning commission meets and whenever they meet. If you're interested in listening in on the meeting or you want to know what's on the agenda, go to the website. I think it could be posted on the website and be done, because Rosa's got a lot of other things to do. And, I just don't think that it's necessary as long as it's posted on the website.
So I have a sort of a different.
How do you
maybe
raise your
pers-
hand? How do you raise your hand?
You click on reactions on the bottom. And then there should be one for raising.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
And Edie has her hand up too.
Okay,
Go
Edie,
ahead.
Hi, folks. Oh, sorry, not a good camera angle. The reason that you have a distribution list for residents and also the press is because of open meeting law, which requires that you email people who make a request to be emailed with those agendas. I don't know how you want to handle that with other committees, but that's the reason that one was created and that Robin started to email them. So I wanted to make you aware of that. I am not up on open meeting law right at the moment, but I don't think that requirement went away.
There's not an open meeting law requirement for emailing. The open meeting law requirement is that if you have a website, you need to post it on your website as well as three places within your town. There's nothing in there about.
There
email
was.
requests.
Right, there was. I can't speak to it now, but there was at the
Okay.
time.
My recollection agrees with Edie that if there's such, I think electronic distribution is mentioned. I mean, I could be wrong, but my recollection, Paul, is that Edie is correct about that. And that's why we, at least for the select board, have been diligent about emailing, and we've been consistent with that. I think what we've not been consistent are other committees and commissions.
I read this recently and I was just trying to take a quick look here, but my recollection is that if someone requests a notification or an agenda for a a particular meeting or a specific meeting, they can request that and it can be sent to them, right, either via email or snail mail. So there is a part of the statute, right, to do individual notifications. And I think sort of by extension, right, if someone had asked, can you always send me that, right? I mean, it's not asking for a particular agenda, but it is a request. So I think that's what the previous board, maybe the wording has changed, but previous board was trying to honor that
And I don't,
specific request, right?
and I mean, Rosa, with respect to your, please speak up on your preferences or workload. By my
mind doing
experience is sort of once you're set up for email distribution, it's not that hard to just send a quick email once you're posting agendas electronically to the website.
Get the kids talking.
Yes, I don't know if you could hear what I said. Sorry about that background.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it.
Okay,
There's another hand up.
okay, Mary,
For my 2 cents, I think it could be set out. I really enjoy it, getting a reminder, to be sent out.
okay,
So, and my kind of perspective on this is a little bit more than just meeting agendas. I think in general, some people in town go to the website, other people never go to the website. And even emails, I mean, I think we need to be a little bit more sophisticated than, just somebody sends a request and gets an email back. I think Tristan had suggested maybe looking into using MailChimp as a way for people to opt in what they want to get, if they want to get, agendas for every meeting, or maybe they're only interested in the select board or another committee. It's pretty standard, I think, these days to do that. And I think we should look into at least some of those options, which make it easier for people to get the information in a few different ways.
Doug, Mary Lou?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a question. Say regarding the select board meetings, is the link and the meeting ID codes and the password and the phone numbers always the same for each meeting as you go along? Does the link not change, the phone number not change, the ID codes and the IDs and meeting passwords and so on, do they ever change, or are they always the same each week or each time?
They're all the same, aren't
It's
they?
always the same.
Always the same. Okay, Doug?
I'll just jump in here and
Yeah.
say about MailChimp. My suggestion, and I think this is somewhat up to you, Rosa, as far as how you want to organize things, but in my opinion, if you wanted to look at using a service such as MailChimp, the scale of our list would be free, and then you could send emails from within that system without sort of copying and pasting the distribution list. People can then unsubscribe directly from that. We can also set up a subscribe form for that on the website, and as I think Patrick indicated, we could also set it up. And this is pretty easy to do, although I think we add too many options. It could get more. Getting it really simple is a good idea, but we could also add options for people to select specific committees or lists that they want to receive. So if you wanted to look at that, I'd be happy to look at it with you or work on it, if that makes sense.
I can try to take a look at it and see if I need any help, but yeah, I'd be happy to look at that.
Yeah, so just going through the VLCT website, so the one VSA paragraph 312D, they refer to it, it says agendas must also be made available to any person prior to the meeting upon specific request, right? So that's what the statute says. So, I mean, I think you're sort of going above and beyond if you sort of proactively email, right? But it certainly fulfills that piece of the puzzle, no doubt.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, this is Edie, and I just want to state that email privacy is important to many of us, and making sure that we are blind carbon copied on whatever is going on means that we don't get unsolicited information from others in our town at times. And secondarily, if you do put something on the website, just be advised that you may get a lot of spam requests. So that would be a challenge for you administratively. Thank you.
Well, I think this is, AD, I think you just highlighted a couple of reasons, benefits of using a service like MailChimp, because the nature of it is you don't see any other recipient's emails ever. And there's less operator error potential with CC versus BCC. And they also include all the sort of legal requirements around data privacy, and they filter out spam and stuff like that.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Moving on, rules of procedure. Next.
I could speak to this briefly. This is a really useful one. I think that should have come back to regularly, but the previous select board did adopt rules of procedure, which cover things like how items get put on the agenda, how we address each other, how motions are made and seconded. And I think it's a really good document that we should all review on an annual basis. And it's also a great document to update or change if we want to do things a little differently or new things come to someone's attention. One little hiccup, I don't know, Rose, I don't know if you were able to locate the signed sort of final copy that we approved, and we need to post that to the website.
Sorry, I forgot to do that.
Okay. And there was a question about how items get put on the agenda, so that is included in the rules of procedure, so we should, another good reason to make that available to the public. And I would want to suggest that we specify that the chair and vice chair are to be the kind of the review, should be the people that are deciding at the end of the day what the agenda is, and that it's good to, I had some discussion with Robin on this, and it's really good to review that agenda and sequence it. So with respect to people that are visiting the meeting, that, like Mike coming in and we do this to some extent, but having items involving someone like Mike or Patty early in the meeting, that kind of thing. But anyway, I think that's why this is on the agenda. This is why this came up, just to refamiliarize everyone with it. But there could be questions or comments on it or need to review. So I think it's open for discussion.
So in terms of creating the agendas, I know what I do is, if I have an item I want to get on the agenda, I ask Rosa to put it on the agenda. And that's, so it's really invisible to the other members until the agenda comes out, or at least our chance to review it before it gets published. But when I see an agenda come out, I don't know where the items came from either, right? And that's kind of problematic, and we've shown that that's kind of problematic, right? Because we want to make sure that the items that get on the agenda are something that we all agree on before we get there. And it's clearly not a violation of the open meeting law to communicate about the agenda, right? And what we're going to talk about, in the meeting. So I think what we should be doing is sharing our communications with Rosa about what goes on the agenda. In other words, we should group email that, which is a huge no-no in terms of the open meeting law, in terms of the discussion, but in terms of creating the agenda, it's fine. And we should probably share our discussions with Rosa going in terms of creating the agenda, so that we all know where it came from, and when we, you know, if we, so at least we're cognizant about where it came from and why it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, my suggestion be, you know, she sends it out before she puts on the agenda,
Yeah,
so everybody can see it.
yeah,
And why couldn't she put on, I said this, put on the article, and you said something, put on the article,
right,
and then everybody know.
right, right. We could do it that way, you know, if Rosa can annotate each agenda item as to where it came from, Rosa, that would be helpful for us.
Can you do that, Rosa? or-
Yep.
So I've got my hand up, but I don't know if we're supposed to be doing that or not as the board, because I've had it up and nobody said anything.
Yeah, yeah, I try to keep up, yeah. Somebody
So
else can talk.
I agree with
Yeah.
what Pete said 100% about, you know, the open meeting law and being able to communicate as far as, you know, agenda items and all that stuff. I don't agree that anybody should say, I want this on the agenda, and that it should be on the agenda. I really do think that as a board, it should be the board chair and or the vice chair that should decide whether something should go on the agenda or not. Because, you know, there are some things that have been put on the agenda that they really don't even belong to this board, or, you know, they're discussions that need to require more research before they can go on the agenda, or things like that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Paul. We haven't been careful about that, and, you know, we're new, Rosa's new, and we've had things get by us and end up with stuff on the agenda that didn't belong there. So yeah, I mean, we can.
Well,
you know,
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure that anything's being on the agenda that didn't belong on there. I think we're a board that works with transparency, and we don't do discussion outside of board meetings, and things go on the agenda when we need to talk about them. And but I think that needs to be better understood how that works. And I do think there's a role for someone, say the chair or vice chair, to review the agenda more proactively before it goes out, to see, well, is everything on here really thought through and worded properly and such. That might give the public more confidence.
I'm more talking about things that are coming from the public, not necessarily things from the board. Usually the items of discussion that come from the board are, you know, there's some background or some understanding about it. That's what I was referring to.
I see.
right,
Well, I think that the public should have I think some members of the public kind of know how to get something on the agenda, maybe some don't. And
Right.
we should just be clear about that.
right, so we've had stuff go directly onto the agenda without going past a member of the board, right? I think that's the issue.
Right.
Right, and so.
It's a learning process.
Right, and if a member of public comes to one of us, right, then we can talk about it, and, you know, if Lewis wants to review it and just make sure that, you know, it's been vetted correctly, that's fine. You know, I have no problem with that at all.
Okay, Edie's got her hand up.
Yeah, but if Paul had more to say, he should go first.
No, go ahead, Edie. I can circle back.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it is important to make sure that the wording is detailed enough that people don't get caught off, you know, balance on the contamination piece, for example, for tonight, number one. My recollection is that Vermont League of Cities and Towns really encouraged boards to set some time aside at the end of the meeting and say, what is our agenda for the next meeting? It's a balance between you guys trying to be responsive to things that I know, have some sort of time frame, but also like not overloading your agendas, and making sure that you get, you get the most important stuff in. So I was just going to offer those comments.
Yeah, lots of times you don't know what's coming up because it comes up maybe 10 days or so after the meeting. So you can't always know what's going to come up.
I mean, some of the things we would know, but some of the things
Yeah.
we would not.
Right.
Yeah, lots
And
of
that
times,
does-
if we're gonna have it, we say put it on the next meeting or agenda.
Yep,
I mean, we've done that before.
many times.
The good
Okay,
news
Paul?
is that we meet every 2 weeks, so that is less of an issue than if it's just a monthly meeting, you
That's
know.
right. Sometimes for 3 weeks, but
Well, yeah. So what I was going to circle back at was the document that Tristan provided about the select board rules of procedure. And I think it's a great document and there's some good information in here. I really think it might be time to update it a little bit. And all that I'll say about it, I'll go through and I'll make recommendations and send it off to the board, and maybe we can talk about it next month or something like that. Pretty much where I'm going with that is it spells out all the pieces of Robert's Rules of Order and or Vermont state law. And typically when you have a procedure, and this is something that from the EMD side, when I'm working with the state, Emily, she's like, if it's something has to do with the law, the state law, or references a state law, you just reference the state law at the beginning of your document, and you don't go into all the details in case the law changes. And then you have to update all your documents or know that you update all your documents. So there are a lot of pieces in here, like, which could be covered by the same language as when we open a town meeting, which is, this meeting is run by Robert's Rules of Orders, except where Vermont state law overrules Robert's Rules of Order, supersedes Robert's Rules of Order. And that kind of addresses a lot of these things. As
Paul,
far
I
as
think I can clarify something about, if I can understand what you're saying. We don't use Robert's Rules of Order for select board. This is what we use, and this is what we've adopted.
the board does use Robert's Rules of Order. They adopted it 2 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's
Well,
all boards in Vermont use that unless they explicitly say that, make a stance that they don't.
well, my understanding is that that's exactly what this was. That these are our rules of procedure, not Robert's Rules of Order. That was what we adopted when we adopted this last year. That was the full intention. But there's no requirement to use Robert's Rules of Order. We could use something that's more suited to us, that is not as formalized, and how it covers our bases. That's what this document was designed to do.
All right, Edie, you got a question?
My hand was up inadvertently, but we do have something in the chat from Patty who said, how do I raise my hand if I'm on the phone and not using the computer Zoom? So I would defer to Patty if she has a comment. Sorry about that.
Hey, Patty.
Can we unmute her if she's muted? Is she up there somewhere?
Does she have to hit a number?
I don't know which one. I don't think this one is.
If she's on the phone, it's what's?
I think it's *6.
*6.
Patty, *6 yourself. You're being called upon to speak.
That's probably her that's muted. See that where your cursor is?
Oh. I don't think I can unmute.
Ask to unmute.
think she's. I think she's just on the phone. I don't think she's on the computer, right?
I just wanted to know how to raise my hand if I am on the phone.
We can hear you now.
I don't know if there's a way to do that, Patty, but you can speak up.
Just speak up if I want to get in
Yeah.
queue. Okay,
Yeah.
I can do that. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah. I guess
Go
in
ahead.
terms of next steps with this rules of procedure, I'd just say we need to locate the document that we signed if we can. If not, then it's just certainly a good reason to review it and approve it. As far as this question that, Paul, you and I are discussing here, maybe I can follow up offline and sort of double check my understanding on that and circle back with you. But I think I would just suggest all board members review these rules and say if works for you or not, if there's any changes you would make.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great document. There's some good information in it. I'll reach out to Secretary of State's office and just find out, just ask the questions about small boards and Robert's rules.
could I have a paragraph here, if you don't mind, I'll read it. This is from VLCT, right? And it's titled Model Rules of Procedure for Municipal Boards. It says a state law does not require that meetings of public bodies be conducted under any specific set of rules or procedures. The open meeting law does provide the opportunity to adopt reasonable rules for meetings, and it's best practice to adopt rules and conduct meetings in accordance with those procedures. There is no legal obligation for municipal public bodies to adopt Robert's Rules of Order for their meetings. In fact, Robert's rules are not well suited for small boards. VLCT has developed model rules of procedure for meetings to help select boards, communities, and commissions and other public bodies. So Tristan, is these
Bingo,
rules?
that's exactly the intention under which we adopted these rules. Yeah.
So did these rules come from the VLCT model rules here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the board had adopted Robert's Rules of Order.
All right,
That's what I'm saying.
And
We
then
need
we
to
adopted
clarify.
these. So these took the place of that. These are the rules that we adopted as of I think October of last year.
okay, Mary?
Yeah.
Is
I
it
don't have
possible
time.
for the public to see these procedures? Are they anywhere where we can see them?
That's
Yeah,
what we
well-
were kind of trying to work on is post them, find the ones that we approved and post them. So absolutely.
Yeah, I just see the one that was online. It's like a downloaded emailed version, but I don't see a signed version.
Well, it sounds like we need to maybe do a little bit of updating to this anyway, because for example, what we were just talking about in terms of agenda setting is not really mentioned here. So maybe we can do that at the next meeting, see if any board members have modifications to this, and then we could just pass it. Could we, if the previous version doesn't seem to be officially locatable.
Well, there should be a binder
that's-
with all the minutes from all the meetings in the town clerk's office somewheres. And so if there was a signed copy, it should be in that binder.
So I guess what I'm proposing is that if we have that signed copy, great, we can amend it. If we don't have it, then we can just pass a new one. So,
Good plan.
Checking
I
to
think
see if
that's a good plan to circulate this with the board, post it, make sure it's posted for public to comment on, and then review at the next meeting and hopefully approve it then.
Great.
Okay. All right. Moving on then. Property with no bids for tax sale. Okay, Mary, why didn't you bring us up to date, and you and Patty?
Okay,
I don't think-
we had a tax sale on June 22nd. 2 properties were sold to individuals, and 1 property, the Edward Hole property, was purchased by the town.
And
Louis, you were there and you purchased it for the town. At that meeting, I specifically asked Attorney Fisher, I was sitting next to him, and I turned to him and I said, can the town purchase this? And he said, yes. I said, without an okay from the board. And he said, yes, because it can be retroactively approved, end quote. So it was. And Louis heard it and I heard it and Louis acted on it.
So we would now want to review that for, is there a proposal, is there a motion to approve, discuss and approve that tax sale purchased by the town? Is that what will be coming up now?
yeah, that's,
So I would make a motion that we void the tax sale as purchased by the town.
Okay, why is that, Paul?
Well, if somebody wants to second it, then we can discuss it. We shouldn't, motion's on the floor, so it either needs to be seconded or or a new motion gets made if that one's not seconded, and then you can have the discussion.
okay, the motion made to void it. The sale.
Okay, nobody's seconding it, so go ahead if somebody wants to make another motion.
All right, in order to get into the discussion, I guess I'll move that we approve the purchase of the property at tax sale. And let's have that discussion and see where it goes.
A second.
Where's the money coming from?
Well, we're not paying any money out. It's just that we've got control of it. If not, they'd have to go through the tax sale again. Go through the same process that they just went through.
But when we purchase it, we are now liable for it. So if there's anything
No.
wrong with the property or anything like that, now the town's on the stick for it, aren't they? I mean, if there's, what if someone used to spray undercoating in the backyard?
Okay, can I clarify? If the highest bidder on any property has absolutely no right to that property, no responsibility to the property, because it is still titled until 1 year to the original owner. So there's no liability to the highest bidder. After 1 year, the highest bidder and the owner does not come and rescue the property by paying all expenses and the highest bid, then it is then the highest bidder now has it, and the delinquent tax collector gives what's known as a tax collector's deed. So for that 1 year period, the town in this case would be getting 1% per month on the money they paid, which was the minimum bid, by the way. And at the end of the year, if nobody redeems that property, if Edward Hole does not redeem that property, then it is owned by the town and the town can then sell it.
Right, that's my point. We don't know anything about the property or what might have happened on it before. If there's some sort of contamination or if there's any issues with the property that would make it not sellable, that's nothing. We're hosed at that point.
Yep.
And it sounds like if there's 1% interest per month, that means that there needs to be money put into escrow for this, right?
Oh.
No, what happens is the town, in this case, the town is the highest bidder. Their money that I don't know, I think it was like 12,000, something like that, was paid. I can't remember the exact amount. X amount of thousand was paid for the property as was bid on the property. And that is so you issue a check to the town tax collector. I then pay the taxes, and that is in escrow collecting 1% interest. If it is not redeemed, then the property is then owned by the town. At that point, the town having title to it, there would be liability. For the 1 year, the town has no liability, only the original owner.
But $12,000 needs to go into a special account.
Yes, and escrow, all the money goes into an escrow account of all 3 properties. And
Right.
it is not touched by anyone until 1 year's time.
That's my point. Where's the $12,000 coming from?
It comes from the.
No, not to you, Mary, to the board. Which line item is the $12,000 coming from
I
out of the
have
budget?
no idea. That's not my purview.
No, I'm saying, Mary, it's not to you.
From the town.
Mary, I'm asking the select board the
Can I-
question.
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
Can I just ask, this discussion has a certain tone of tension around it, which is, to me, I'm having a hard time just following the basic plot. Can we just talk about the basic plot? And then if there's a disagreement or reason for tension, we can get to that at the proper time?
Hey, Mary, why don't you just tell what the property is and is anything on it?
The property is Edward Hole property, which is a ½ acre of land with a house. His back taxes were $12,018.93. And you add the expenses. I don't have these figures in front of me. I apologize. You add the legal expense, the legal expense, the advertising expense, the recording expense, and you have an amount of money that's considered the lowest bid on any property. So we had 3 properties up. 2 of them were sold to individuals, and this particular property came up and there was no one that bid on it. That is the only time when the town is allowed to buy the property.
What does the property itself look like? I mean, I had heard something that it doesn't even meet the minimum current zoning for frontage.
I have no idea. It's a legal property or it wouldn't exist.
No, I know. No, what's the frontage on the property? Is it
I have
only
no
like
idea.
200 feet?
I don't know. I don't have those documents in front of me.
But you say it doesn't matter,
Usually
Paul.
grandfathered in.
Okay.
The property's grandfathered before that zoning.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
can I
it's,
ask, what's the address, Mary? Did you have the address handy?
yes, 62 Wheeler Road, and I believe the assessed value is 188,000 for that property, and I believe the town paid in the neighborhood of 15,000, give or take. So that at the end of a year, pardon me.
So I was just going to kind of get back to what Tristan's point was and sort of what the basic issue here is. I'm sure that, you know, that the property is fine. However, I agree with Paul. If there is an issue with the property 1 year from the date of the tax sale, the town will be liable for that. I think that's a decision that the town could make, that it's worth it and we should do it. What my issue here is that was not done. The board, the select board didn't have the opportunity to review this. And this was on the basis of the lawyer's recommendation that there be a retroactive motion to purchase the property.
You're exactly right.
My understanding, that legal advice is the biggest problem we have.
Yep.
Because
if I might
we should not be retroactively approving something that encumbers the town, even if it's a contingent liability and not a liability at the moment. We really shouldn't be doing that without, you know, discussing it. Right? And so,
May I speak?
Is that
Yeah, go
Patty?
ahead,
May I
Patty.
You're
speak?
interrupting one of the board members.
Oh, I am so sorry. My
Oh.
bad.
That's fine. I was done. I just wanted to get back to Tristan's point and kind of say, I think that's what the real issue is. It is that legal advice to retroactively approve this motion, and that's something that we should be focusing on, in my opinion. Please go ahead, Patty.
Go ahead, Patty.
So in tax, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, so in tax sales, everybody goes and purchases a property at tax sale sight unseen. They cannot enter the property. They can only get information based on what is recorded in the town. So nobody has any other advantage from anybody else. So it's not uncommon that a purchaser wouldn't know a whole lot about the property if they did not do their due diligence. And my second point is, if it is advantageous to the town to purchase a property during a tax sale if no one else bids on it, because it's the easiest way to reclaim our tax money. Otherwise, this property could go a year, 2 years, 3 years, and we are still out tax money. But after a year, we could sell the property, recoup all of the money that we put down towards it, and it's a win-win. We get our tax money. Otherwise, we're just sitting there with this liability out there with no collected tax money. Lost my third point.
Well, I mean.
Oh, and the escrow account, It's not that this 12,000 or 15, whatever the price was, I forget, goes into an escrow account. What happens is the select board would theoretically, approve the sale of the property, and then on this order, their treasurer's order, they would have a line item to pay the delinquent tax collector for the tax amount, the penalty amount, and the interest amount payable to the town's delinquent tax collector. Mary would then put that on her summary sheet, and then it would be given to me, and I know it seems redundant, but it's a paper trail. Then I would redeposit the same check I wrote back into the town's account, clearing that delinquent taxes. Nothing gets put into an escrow account. The only time that you would put money into an escrow account, which did happen with the other two sales for McHugh and Anderson, is when the purchaser buys the property for more than what the town is asking to cover for the minimum bid. So if the minimum bid is $10,000 and someone wins the property at the highest bid of $15,000, then I would take that $5,000 and put it in an interest-bearing account, if possible, for 1 year. And then that would, at the end of the year, if the landowner redeems the property, and that means by paying the $15,000 plus 1% interest per month, they would pay that back to the town and to the winning bid. If the landowner does not redeem themselves, then the money that's held in the escrow account would then a check would be written to the original landowner, and then title would be then passed at that point to the winning bid person. I'm done.
Thank you. That helped explain a lot of my question as it went to the dollar amounts. But my concern really is what Patrick was talking about, and even kind of bigger than that, and that's to try to build the trust in the board and the transparency to the public. And I just really think I understand why it was done. I think if in hindsight, I think the select board, knowing that there was going to be a tax sale, maybe should have done a motion to authorize the chairman to purchase a property if that's the way that the board wanted to do it, if there's no bidders. But that didn't happen. And even the procedures that Tristan just passed along says no single member of the board shall have authority to represent or act on behalf of the board unless by majority vote. And I really think that we're opening ourselves up for some real backlash from the community for doing this without a board vote and then circling back afterwards and saying, yeah, it's okay.
Mary,
I think in a nutshell, Paul has hit it, and Patrick, that in order to buy property, the law says it has to have passed an act of the select board. That's the proper way of doing it. And I think that's the point that Paul is making and Patrick is making.
I do have a follow-up question for Mary, if I may.
go ahead.
It's kind of ironic. Just today, I got an email about Act 182, which I know nothing about this stuff, so I only know what I read today. And it talks about prohibiting a tax sale while a VHAP application is pending, which was a new law signed into effect on June 7th by the Governor Scott.
I'm aware of that we were grandfathered in because we did it just before it was enacted.
Oh, okay.
In the future, every delinquent tax bill I will send out has to have a flyer on it so that the delinquent tax payer is aware of the grant.
Okay. So we didn't have to worry about the 60 days before the final tax notice and all that stuff, because that's
Not for this one.
okay.
Not for this one. The future ones as well.
And I am going to be sending out the flyer with every single delinquent tax bill. So I've done my due diligence to inform people of how they can apply for a grant.
Cool. Thank you.
Stephen,
Yes, please. I'm just curious, for the other two properties, is the selling price made public? And if so, where is it made public?
Well, it is part of the land records. Every property, you can go into the town office and there's a book that tells everybody all the delinquent taxes that are owed. And it is part of the public land records as to what it was sold for.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
got anything else there? Stephen? No, I guess you shut it off.
No, thank you. Just a bit slow to click on the.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anything, anybody else got any questions?
It sounds like, well, we kind of got the cart before the horse a little bit, where we should have authorized you to do that, right? At the tax sale. But according to the lawyer, it's not like it's illegal. It's just, it's just not the way we want to do things.
No.
Right. So going forward, we should address this stuff up front and make sure that when we go into one of these tax sales, that Lewis is, or however we do it, right?
Whoever the chair is.
Right, whoever the chair is authorized to do that. In my mind, it's very important to do this because it's the only real enforcement mechanism you have, right, to collect taxes, right? If you don't follow through with this stuff, then there's, it's not fair to the rest of the taxpayers that somebody's not paying, and they have a case that why should I pay my taxes if nothing happens?
Mhm.
So it's absolutely critical, right, to follow through with this stuff. It's brutal and it's unpleasant and it's not where we want to be, but it's reality. It's what we have to do. I guess from where I'm sitting, I would be in favor of approving this, right? But with the understanding that going forward, we'll get this stuff on the agenda and get a proper approval in up front.
See, and I just disagree. I think that it can go up for tax sale again. And 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And the town doesn't have to be put in that. I still think that if this board approves it as a whole, I think it's throwing it in the face of a lot of the community that had concerns over the Rafus land deal. Because this is something that's happening again, where there's a decision made and then we're coming back and asking for permission. That really concerns me. And just so just to let you know, when you call for a vote, you're gonna have to do roll call. Because I'm not in favor of the motion.
I mean, I'm not really seeing parallels with that previous transaction.
Well, just because there was no transparency with the community. That's what I'm referring to.
Well, this is a
And-
tax that was done in public that, and I follow to your point as far as select board approval being, the retroactive approval not being the procedure that, I'm agreeing with what I'm hearing from everyone, that it'd be next time there's a tax sale, we need to prove it in advance to be more clear. But this is something that was done very much in public eye. And if we approve it tonight, that's part of that. And if we don't, it's part of that. There's nothing being done in executive session. There's no other agenda that's to it. So I don't see it going as far as you do in terms of transparency.
Is there any guidance from VLCT as far as the delinquent taxes goes as to whether a municipality should purchase it or shouldn't?
I read through that. That's when this stuff first made it onto my radar. And there's a whole lot of detail and procedure associated with going through this process. And I'm sure Mary's aware of that, but it'll make your head spin, and it gets really deep, which is one of the reasons I hate to revisit this, because it's a complicated process.
Yeah, so I also looked through it, and there is no advice from the LCT on which method you should follow. They do offer a lot of information on a lot of different methods. And so I think that the method that we have followed is the most common. And I think it's a good method for us. And yeah, I think we are well within the bounds of what the LCT recommends.
So with the understanding that we should have had the approval in place up front, right, is really the issue.
Yeah, and I mean, I think my issue is more with the attorney than with anybody else, because I don't think that an attorney should be recommending that we make retroactive motions. We have a procedure for emergency meetings. If we have to have an emergency meeting, we can. We don't need to give notice for this type of a situation. I'm not even sure this was an emergency, but we do have that option. I can't understand why we would be taking that advice to do a retroactive motion.
Well, yeah, I don't really understand it either, but it's sort of common procedure, right? That if no one bids on a piece of property that's up for tax sale, that the town buys it, because that's the only way you recoup your taxes, right? There's no other way. So,
well, no, there are other ways. So there are definitely other ways to do that, but without going into all those details, this is probably the easiest way, and it's a good way, and it's the way that we should follow. But that doesn't mean that we have to do a retroactive motion. There are several other options. Emergency meeting, have another tax sale, like Paul is saying. There are other ways to do it. I would not say that doing a retroactive motion is the best way.
Okay, so let me ask Mary, what, if we want to do this again, what's it take?
I just do another tax sale. I included another tax sale. In my guidebook, it says municipal bids. The town may buy a property that's up for tax sale for the statutory minimum amount, blah, blah, but only under certain circumstances. A town may purchase a property at tax sale only if no other minimum bid is received. If there are any acceptable bids on a property, a town is prohibited from bidding. Furthermore, if the town submits a bid and a subsequent acceptable bid is received, the town must withdraw. If the town is successful bidder, be sure to have the select board sign a warrant authorizing the treasurer to deliver the check to the delinquent taxpayer in any case. But there is I'm trying to find the state law that said, if you give me a second, I'll find where it says has to be within an act of the select board.
Yeah, I think that's what you read.
I think that's 32 VSA 5259.
And I will just say for myself, I think that because we have fully aired this at this meeting and everybody now has all the information, and it does seem like approving this motion is the most expedient way forward. I don't think we need to have another tax sale because we now have all the information in front of us. We know what happened. I think what we should be talking about is going forward, how to avoid this in the future. And maybe that means we have something in the rules of procedure that say we don't do retroactive motions. But I think in this particular case, I personally am satisfied that we've aired everything and that we should move this forward in the most expedient manner possible.
Yeah, I think what I would say is I would ask Mary to talk to one of us about getting this on the agenda prior to
She
the
should come to
sale.
the select board meeting.
Right, or come to the meeting so that we can have this discussion.
As she says, she's gonna have a tax sale and to have the select board approve
Right.
somebody to bid in for the town, nobody,
Right.
no bidder.
How's that sound, Mary?
Can you clarify that? What you just said, Peter?
Well, just to, in order to, I guess, ask someone on the board, in this case, it would be Lewis, to approve having him bid.
No, it's gonna come before the board.
Right, so, to have an agenda item where we approve having the, someone on the board submit the bid, assuming no one else bids above, at the minimum.
Right.
Are you
Right.
saying for a future tax sale
Yes.
or for this
I
one?
think what we're saying is, Mary, in the future, please let us know when a tax sale is coming up, so that we can be prepared and have this.
Okay,
sort of pre-approved.
I did that twice. It was on your agenda twice that the tax sale was coming and to approve my getting legal assistance and whatever that cost, to approve the cost of that. So you knew there was a tax sale way back coming, I did it last fall and I did it again in, I think, April. But in future, what I should do is do two things. One, say there's a tax sale and do you approve expenditures for you? Is it okay with you that I speak to the legal assistance? And two, decide whether you want to bid on the properties. The other thing I'd just like to say is that I think Patrick is exactly right when he said, if 5 of you vote and 3 out of 5 of you would have said yes to this property and would say yes tonight, then we can get on with it with the proviso that this is not to set a precedent, that it was done incorrectly, and that we would not do this again. That sort of clears us from tonight being not transparent. Those are just some thoughts I have. But absolutely in the future, the select board is responsible for deciding whether or not it wants to purchase a property and cannot do it without an act of the select board.
Right, so I mean, I recall clearly, right, you bring in the, you know, this, letting us know that the sale was gonna happen. But I wasn't aware that we needed to, you know, go through the process of sort of approving the expenditure, right?
And that's my bad.
Well, that's okay, but, you know, I think going forward, we can do that, right? It's clear to us now. And let's just do it that way and try to keep this thing moving.
May I speak? This is Edie.
Go ahead, Edie.
Thank you. I was on the board on the April 19th, 2022 meeting where Mary did bring this to the attention of the board. At the time, I had some vague recollections of an officer called the town agent who would have bid on behalf of the town. And at that point, Lewis said that position had been eliminated from at the state legislature level. So I do think that Mary did the proper thing. She brought it to us. We did not fully understand how best to follow through with this at that point. I don't think there was, you know, any intention for wrongdoing here. But it is, you know, it has been the past practice of the town to have someone bid on properties if no one else did, in order to recoup the tax dollars, you know, through this process. So to the extent that we didn't clarify what was supposed to happen on April 19th, those of us who were on the board, you know, should take responsibility for that. We didn't follow through and understand completely what we should have done. But I think, you know, it's not completely uncommon for legal counsel to say you can remedy what happened here by doing this, you know, this action. And it feels to me like, given the resources of the town, we did the best that we could under the circumstances, and we just, you know, we would try to move forward from here. So just a little history.
Yeah, I think the word remedy is a good word here, and that comes up from time to time. For example, with the meeting law, there may be a violation that we make with the meeting law, and then there's a remedy to that. There's a way to kind of do our best to make it right. And in my opinion, everything here is transparent and has been fully vetted at this point, and we have a path forward. And I would personally be in favor of approving the motion on the floor.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we do as the town attorney Bob Fisher suggested, and retroactively approve the purchase of the lot for in a tax sale.
That motion was already made. You already made the motion and it was already seconded, and this was the
Okay.
discussion on it.
Okay,
All right,
sorry.
right.
All right, apologize. Forgot that.
Okay, any more discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. I'll call, roll call. Peter,
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Paul,
Nay.
Louis?
yes.
Okay.
So 4-1.
Mhm.
So passed.
May I make a comment? As far as
Yeah.
the bill that I submitted, then it would be summary 1 that you would follow. I gave you both summaries. And 2,
Let me check.
missing,
Let me get it here
Pardon?
first. Let me get it here first.
okay. And I did a cover so that the town, that explaining what the work orders, resulting work orders are, and that to complete this summary, the check number from the town has to be inserted, otherwise it is incomplete.
Okay,
Okay?
so while we're talking about this on summary 2.
Yeah.
We got to put on the thing to pay Patton.
No, we're going to use summary 1 because summary 1 includes the Edward and Tracy
Okay.
Hole property.
All
Okay?
right, okay. All
And
right,
if
so that,
Rosa has
so
any
summary-
questions,
summary two is no.
it's-
We don't pay attention to it tonight.
Right, I think it was one or the other. and
I
we're
think
going
it's,
with
I think
summary
it's
one. Right, we're going with
summary
summary
one. Okay,
This is Chris Parkins. I just had a question about properties in the town. It's a good time to ask that real quick.
go ahead.
I'm just curious, like if the town gets a property, what does the town end up doing with it? I mean, I'm hearing say that it's an asset to the town, but there are a few properties I've seen, I would question whether they're an asset or not. So but regardless of that, I'm just curious, what does the town end up doing with those properties? Somebody has
Well,
knowledge.
Number one, if they don't redeem it within a year, one year and 1 day, then the town owns it, then we can sell it. Put it out to bids and sell it. So there's a lot of towns has done this, sold the property because nobody's redeemed it. A lot of it is just land. But this has got a building on it.
Right. All right, great, thanks.
Okay. That's it on that. The next one is a local highway finance report. I think I talked to Patty and she's filling this report out, so we don't have nothing to do with it.
That's due, there's a deadline on that, isn't there?
Yeah, end of the
Coming
week,
up.
end of the
Yeah,
week.
Okay. So,
I did end up filling that report out today, and I emailed it to Nicole. I did it to the best that I possibly could.
Okay,
Thank you, Patty.
thanks, Patty.
all right. The next one is previous additions was a gravel bed.
Both of the gravel people said they'd honor the same price for the less amount of gravel.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
So I would like to see the board make a decision tonight. And
so on the gravel, you had three bids, right?
gravel, there was two.
Rosa, do we have the
So I get three,
spreadsheet that we did?
Zuzani,
for the gravel?
Renaud, and Mitchell.
Renaud did not
Oh,
have
the other
gravel.
one?
Oh,
Yeah.
It was Luzny and Mitchell. They
Okay.
both honored the same price. Which Luzny is $31 delivered. And Mitchell was
I had 33.
33.
$33.50 delivered.
Yeah.
So my motion or my suggestion to the board would be to take your $120,000, divide it by your $31 delivered, by your 30.
From Zuzani?
100 and something yards from those.
Okay, I'll make that a motion then. To buy gravel from Zuzani for the amount of money we got in the budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion remains second to to buy the amount of gravel at $31 a cubic yard for the amount of money we got in the budget. Any more discussion? Don't hear any. All those in favor say aye.
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 I,
All passed. And the other one, the purchasing policy?
The only thing I would, I called AOT and asked them about the whole bidding and gonna be in the paper and this and that. And they said they recommend that we follow our purchasing policy. So my recommendation to the board would be to get rid of this newspaper ordeal that keeps biting us where don't belong. Just abolish the newspaper ordeal and then life could be a lot easier.
All right,
I'll-
just use what we got in our
Well, what they
Purchasing
recommend-
policy.
Yeah, but on our purchasing policy, it says that it's gotta be advertised in the newspaper. So make an amendment to your purchasing policy to get rid of the advertising in the newspaper. It didn't gain nothing in this situation, so
right.
So,
Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
no, that's all right, Paul, go ahead.
Well, I thought if there were funding, if we're getting any federal funding, any grant funding for
This is,
projects.
this is state.
Okay, so you don't have to follow the same guidelines for federal funds as you do with state funds?
Oh,
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
federal is a lot different. rules,
Okay.
Regulations.
So I think we should revisit the purchasing policy in general, right? Can we make it an agenda item for the next meeting to and
Yeah.
just review and edit that, and
Yeah.
then maybe we can come up with a new purchasing policy that makes more sense given where we're at today.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Does that work for you, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
So put that as one of the for the next meeting. Agenda. All right. Other business, ARPA fund?
Right, so I've been working on trying to get costs in line, right? You know, what, where we're at, we had 8 items. Among those items, one of them was a generator for the community center. And there was a bid that the community center had going back into the spring for a little less than $15,000 to put a generator there. So, you know, that was a sort of a high priority thing for us. So I don't know if we want to do something with that tonight, or if you want to just put that as part of the part of our analysis. And the idea is we have $200,000 to spend roughly,
Right.
right? So
We got half that right now.
yeah, I think we got half, but we should be getting, maybe Patty would know when we're going to get the other half, but
Yeah, it's supposed to have been a year from time we got the first one.
right, which I think that should have been, I think, by now.
It was July or August last year, I think.
Okay, so yeah, so we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was a 15,000 for you know, for a generator, which I thought was a good idea. And then the other piece was the funding for low income to connect to DV fiber.
Yeah.
Right, and David had helped us through that for like 36,000 and something.
Yeah.
And so I guess where I'm going is, are we going to move forward with any of this stuff, or do we just want to accumulate, right, all these costs and then review?
I think, you know, if we get the money, I think we let those use it up.
Well,
I think that's especially true of the generator for the community center, because you never know when we're going to have to use that, and maybe Paul could speak to that as from the EMD perspective. You know, how if that's a really good idea and if we should move forward with it.
Well, I wasn't going to speak as EMD, but I can. The first thing I was gonna comment on is if we're gonna put money into the generator for the community center, I think that's a great idea. It's, you know, kind of like the school where it's a focal point of the town and all that stuff. I do, however, feel that there should be an agreement with the community club that if we need to use it for a town function or a town like we do with the polling or something like that, that we don't get charged for it like we do. Because we would be giving them a generator. The town is always graciously, you know, granted them no taxes, but we get billed for it when we use it. Just an observation.
How much do they bill the town for a function?
I don't know.
If it's $100, if you're buying a $15,000 generator, it shouldn't be nothing.
Well, the thing is it's who's requiring the generator? Is the town requiring the generator, or is it the community hall that wants the generator? The person who wants the generator, I feel, is the person that should be ponying up the bucks.
Well, so what's that is couched in is that we need a facility, right, to use as, whether it's a warming center in the wintertime or some place to go, right, if people have to evacuate, right? And in order to do that, you need power, right? And the likelihood is there won't be power, right? So that's where this sort of comes from, is how do you know, we can use that facility, but we need to put a generator there. And it does benefit the community center too, but with the town is benefiting by having a place to go, right, if people have to evacuate. So that's why we were talking about using the ARPA funds. And it's very much in keeping with the ARPA philosophy, right? So that's kind of how we ended up there, and it made it through our vetting process, right? Right. So I don't think that having a generator there, I don't think the community center makes money on these functions, right? It just covers their costs, right, in terms of the lights and the heat and all that. So I don't, I kind of get the point that we're getting a free generator here, but the town is benefiting from it, and I don't want to punish the community center, for letting us use it by then not having them bill us for the costs associated with using the facility.
I mean, they really do. I mean, we're part of the community center too. And they're always doing fundraisings. That's why those ice cream trucks are sitting out there. It's to help them manage that building. They have the same problems that the Historical Society has. They have to maintain their building and they need money.
All right, Edie?
I would just advise against having a discussion about this without anyone from the community club present. It sounds like you're trying to renegotiate the contract here that you had with them before, and it doesn't feel good to me. I think you might want to table this and see if you can get someone from there to come when you make the final decision on this.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Okay, Janice or Chris?
Is there a contract?
Well, I guess that's actually my question. I was just curious, is there a formal agreement between the community center and the town of Halifax that's written that says these, what Pete's saying, or is that just kind of a word of mouth agreement?
It was some.
No, we haven't got a contract, as far as I know.
There was earlier discussion about using them as a warming shelter, so this would come under the purview of the EMD role. So there was already a discussion about that, and I feel like you don't have the information in hand to make that decision.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I would just advocate, it's one thing if you have a discussion and say we're going to use a warming center, and everyone's like, yeah, but then when you start investing $15,000 into something, you want to make sure that agreement that you have is somehow a little more solidified, I would say,
Right,
So
especially if that becomes an American Red Cross sanctioned warming shelter. There are all kinds of things that would need to happen in that case. That triggers a whole bunch of.
Yeah, I mean, there was a whole commercial kitchen thing, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff that went along with that.
Well, not for a warming shelter. There's not. A warming shelter is just that. But if you were to have it be overnight, and depending on the use, what kind of shelter it is, and there's all kinds of different categories, that's where you get into showers and bathrooms and commercial kitchens and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, Mary?
I was pretty much going to say what Edie was saying. I just wanted to agree that it's an interesting discussion we're having, but they need to be present and it needs to be very clear, so I just agree with Edie.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll table this, and I'll try to get some of the management from the community center to come to the next meeting, and I'll create an agenda item for it. Just keep in mind, this is ARPA funds, right? And ARPA funds this is like right in the sweet spot of what ARPA is supposed to be doing, right? In terms of, emergency response and places to go and things like that. So, but I do agree, we should have them on board and talking to us about it. So I'll get that arranged for the next meeting.
So just one more question on that. Maybe this is for next time also, but who covers the operations and maintenance if we get the generator?
That's part of the deal was a service contract, right? It was
that's
included,
part of the 15,000.
was included, is my understanding.
Okay.
And I did get a copy of it, and there was a service contract associated with it.
Yeah, I think so much a year. And they come and service it.
Can I
Yeah,
just say that the meeting is for the community hall is gonna be Monday night.
Monday, the 11th. So
Their meeting, they're gonna have, I think that was on the agenda.
Oh, so they're having a meeting?
Yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
their board is having a meeting, their annual meeting
Okay,
on Monday, the 11th.
all right. Well, I'll get in touch with Laurel and
Yep.
make sure that, you know, that they talk about it, and then I'll ask somebody to come to the next select board meeting so we can sort of put this together, see if we're gonna get this done.
Yeah, and whoever just mentioned maintenance, that was an upkeep. That was a good thing because there's dollars to that. And it would be, if ARPA is going to cover a 1-year maintenance, you know, they're going to have an ongoing cost and with that,
There's fuel too, right?
Yeah.
So,
right?
well, they'll use the same fuel, how to tank it.
right, but I mean, it does cost them, right? I mean, you gotta-
Yeah, but it's gonna be hard to figure it.
Okay, and then the other one that we did have a number on was the DV fiber connection. And, you know, I don't think that one's time critical because, you know, that's only the connections.
Right.
But, so I guess I'll just, you know, we can just keep that in the back of our mind. And,
And
you know,
I don't think that,
Yeah,
don't know what this,
on the DV fiber ARPA proposal, I would just like to suggest we put that on the agenda for the next meeting. I discussed that. I had some questions, more detailed questions on it that I discussed with David Jones. Many of you know David. He couldn't be at this meeting tonight, but he can be at the next meeting. And I was going to suggest that we might discuss it in detail there. And I might advocate we move forward with it as timely at that time.
Okay. So I'll make a couple of agenda items for that for next time around.
okay.
so are those the only two projects that are being considered?
No,
for
there's
ARPA
a
funding?
total debate.
Yeah, so there's still,
I'm still working on
Okay.
getting numbers together for the balance.
Like
of
the
it.
windows,
The
you get
windows.
like,
Well, the Historical Society. I have somebody from the Vermont Preservation Trust coming to look at them in the middle of July. So he's gonna assess the situation, and you were right. Those are not the original windows at the top on the second floor.
Mm.
I found a picture
Yeah.
and it had different windows. So anyway, so if they're looking at preservation of the building, those were not the original windows. So anyway, and I did manage to get somebody to come out and look at them, but I had yet to get an estimate. So I'm in limbo.
There's that, there's some outdoor learning, there's.
you know,
there's some
windows here
different-
are bad.
Right, these
Yeah, these windows.
windows, right, so there's a bunch of other things. I could send you a list if you want.
I did see the list. I
Okay.
was just wondering if there'd been any progress on.
Yeah.
I'm just chipping away. at it.
All right, anything else on ARPA?
No, that's it for the ARPA.
Post office,
I had nothing this week on post office.
okay. DV fiber,
Yes, did the board receive my written report?
I don't remember seeing one.
I don't remember.
I sent it to Rosa and asked her to distribute it to you, and so she can do that post-meeting. I will quickly walk through the highlights of this. For those of you who are new to the board in particular, DV Fiber is the registered business name of the Deerfield Valley Communications Union District. And Halifax is one of 5 founding member towns which organized to legally become a municipal entity back in April of 2020. And a communications union district serves a region for the sole purpose of providing high-speed broadband for all. The select board has been updated on this project. The last update was, I believe, in November of last year by Stephen Chait. Since that time, DV Fiber has approved a high-level design for the optical fiber-based network at its May 18th meeting in 2022. They did that using a $4.1 million grant from the Vermont Community Broadband Board. And that included pre-construction work such as the network design by a partner called Great Works Internet. And it's also included paying utility companies, mostly Green Mountain Power, to make the poles that they own ready for this new network. On July 1st, at a Vermont Community Broadband Board meeting, DV Fiber presented a construction grant application for an additional 21.9 million. And a decision on that grant is on the agenda of the VCBB for July 11th. Hopefully there will be an answer for that. Just other notes, Halifax is one of the towns least well served, and it is high on the priority list for DV Fiber. When we know construction dates in Halifax, we will reach out and keep everyone in the loop, but we do not have that information at this time. I'll also note that DV Fiber asked the Halifax School Board to provide a local, to provide some space for a local hub. And that was going to be reviewed at a contract at the next meeting of the school board. We wanted to thank you for your consideration of the ARPA funds to help those in Halifax with restricted means to help cover this, their connection to this really vital service. And there is a decision needed on that aspect by September in order for matching funds to be potentially received from the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. So in short, DV Fiber's continuing to make good progress in its quest and mission to get high-speed internet to all the people in our town. And I'd be happy to entertain questions. Like I said, there's a written report that has some background information and links you can use if you wish to. That's it for me. Questions?
Thank you.
I just have one comment.
Thank you, Edie.
I can say that the school board in June, middle of June or beginning of June, we did approve that. And the and where it's going to be located, the construction's probably already in swing. And part of that was to negotiate a internet connection for the town. So the town office, was one of my asks with it. So the town office is going to get 100 meg internet connection out of the school, providing the service for the local hardware point of presence.
Thank you.
I do have a question as McMillan Road guy, Paul. What's the process to get on a waiting list for an installation, or what's that process for that? Maybe this isn't the right place to ask that.
Well, I think it's a question that is on all of our minds of anybody who wishes to become a customer ultimately. And at the moment, we again still don't have construction dates, so we still don't have what that process and procedure will be like and when it will be able to be started. What we would recommend is that anyone in the town avoid any long-term contracts that kind of tie you in, so that you won't have any barrier to signing up with DV Fiber. But at the moment, I don't have a specific process to express your interest other than noted.
So
I would just reiterate that the goal of DV Fiber is to serve every address in town that wants service, and that includes underserved addresses that the telecom companies have left behind.
Cool, thank you.
All right, anything else? Anybody got questions? Okay, I guess we're moving on then. Here are the visitors.
I have a point. Gary Rand, can the town come up with some sort of waiver for volunteers who want to come on town property and volunteer their time? A waiver for liability and personal liability and health, I guess, I don't know. Just so people are, so we won't have anybody come out of town, get hurt, and then sue the town. There's lots of volunteers that would like to do things to help out the different areas. I'm speaking specifically from the cemetery as a cemetery commissioner.
I think that'd be Catholic cities and towns.
Yeah, we can, I'll inquire with VLCT about how that works. I know that for a private landowner, if you let people come on your property to recreate or, just be there, and you don't charge them to do it, they cannot sue you if they get hurt, right? That's very clear in the Vermont statutes, right?
Okay.
So
If they can't sue the town,
so that's, I think by extension, right, that, but I'll
Okay.
inquire with VLCT to see what, how that
That'd be the
works.
best thing to do, I think.
So I'll do that and I'll get back to you, Gary. okay?
yep, okay, thank you.
And I'm assuming the town has some kind of an insurance.
Yeah, little
policy.
cities and towns.
Yeah, so I don't know if you need a waiver is my point. Like,
Well,
That's what I mean.
Well,
I-
not necessarily me, in the instance that I'm talking about, a landowner adjacent to one of the cemeteries wants to come in and remove trees
Right,
on the edge of the cemetery, in the cemetery, as well as some others that won't be, harmful to the property in the cemetery. So I'd say, yeah, thanks for the volunteer work, but it was brought up that, if something happens, he can't sue the town for, against, any liability of injury or property.
Yeah, I
Fair
know that
question.
there used to be a requirement where you weren't allowed to volunteer because of the insurance, unless it was categorized as an emergency, like when we had the ice storms and stuff like that. But that was like 15-year-old. So I'm sure things have changed.
I don't know.
All right, I'll dig into it and I'll come back at the next meeting, okay?
Perfect, thanks.
Anybody else got any business, got any questions?
Did anything come of the complaint from the mowing on the mowing complaint? Trying to think of the name of the road. Lucia Road?
Yes, Andy, I've called all the people that called and complained, and Andy's gone and talked to them all, because he was way closer to them and know them all over there. As of right now, everything is under control.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. What I'd like to say is the old 2013 10-wheeler that we had that was a lemon. 2014, we got a check for $5,000 for it, because we had it up to Westminster there for about a year, and nobody wanted to buy it anyway, so he finally found somebody that said they'd give 5,000, so we just got a check for it.
So Mike's got to get on the title, is that, or?
Well, yeah, I just told him it,
Okay.
that he can give him a title.
That's good.
What's that? I guess Tristan,
Yeah, he's just saying it's positive. He's good.
yeah, okay,
Just saying that's good, yeah.
all right. Executive session, I don't think we got anything that I know of.
I'd like to go into executive session just to talk about some of the personnel.
Okay,
Can you do a
I'm
breakout room? in
gonna
Zoom?
have to sign off. I'm gonna have to sign off. I think I've talked with Mike about this one-on-one, so I'm supportive to what he's bringing forward here, and I can follow up after the fact, but I gotta I gotta get back to the family here where I am. So, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
see you,
see you,
Tristan.
Tristan.
Yeah, thank you.
So we can,
Okay,
the only thing,
Bye, guys.
only other
Thanks
thing
for
we
coming.
got is, we gotta sign the select board order. And you want me to read the,
Just sign those two. I'm hand wrote a purchase agreement for.
Okay. okay,
So I just had one question on this order about, it's just about the beaver deceiver, just because I'm not familiar with it. It doesn't look like an invoice. It's just sort of a letter. Is that normal or?
Yeah, it's, let me just see if you sent me anything else. Bear with me a second here.
I mean, it doesn't have an address on it or anything. It doesn't even really say who to pay. But
Okay, now there is, I do have it, I have an invoice.
You got the same one, but all
is it just this?
No, it's just,
the same thing.
which
yeah,
one
it's the
is
same,
it?
that's all I've got from you. So,
You got the. Also, you get the
I mean,
invoices.
I don't.
Yep.
I don't necessarily want to hold anything up. I'm just, if you guys
I'm
know what
gonna-
the work that was done and
Oh, I
you're
gotta
all happy with
print
it, that's
that real
fine.
quick.
It just looks fun, kind of funny to me.
Well, I mean, it's a little informal, to say the least.
This one here,
It's,
it's gotta be different.
you know, we have all kinds of problems out there on Pound Hill Road. They were up there 2-3 times.
Let
a
me-
I
week,
gotta
right,
add
trying to
one for
maintain that.
Paul. I
So,
just saw an email.
with his advice and some help from him in terms of rebuilding the culvert protection, and then we went up there and built some of our own stuff.
Hmm.
And, you know, we were into it for probably $2,500 or something like that, including him, right?
Yeah.
And have you been back up there since, or lately?
Since they moved, we have not been back up there.
Right, so.
Looks good.
Solve the problem, right? You know, Skip is you know, he's the expert, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think he's also expensive, right? And you know, from where I'm sitting, if we can do it ourselves, we'll do it ourselves. But if we have real problems, we're gonna have to, you know, get some additional help, whether it's him or Tyler Brown at the state or some of the other guys around, right? But they're, you know, Skip is very well respected in the industry.
You
So,
got a hand up.
Hey,
I think that's
Mary Bruce.
Mary.
Mary Brewster,
Are you guys okay with me? I can leave?
yeah, as far as I know. As far as I
Are
know,
you-
you can leave.
Are you good with the bill, Melissa?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It could be very confusing. I wanted to make sure that Rosa was aware.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you.
What do you usually pay here?
So Pete, was this an agreed upon amount? Did you, or?
Yeah, so, you know, we're
What do you
sort of
usually
having a
pay,
crisis
Ron?
there, right? Because we're up there 3 times a week.
Because that's a
Yeah.
total for everything.
And we had a meeting at the board, we said, we'll spend up to $3,000 to try to fix it. I said, well, I think we can do some of it ourselves. And then
Okay.
Skip said he would come up and help us with it, right? And so we kind of got it done for.
Yeah, but that's,
for less than. what
that's
we
got
thought,
everything
right?
in there.
Okay.
Right, so, yeah, so it's, you know.
Okay.
So I have while we're talking, you guys are going over the orders and stuff. And we kind of we're talking about open meeting law before. And this is kind of one of the gotchas with a 5-member board in open meeting law, where you actually have to designate who is going to be signing orders if people are going to be signing them when we're not having a meeting. Meaning there's an order on our off Tuesday and somebody's going to 3 guys are going to be just stopping by the town office and signing them. There actually has to be a motion for X, Y, person A, person B to be signing those orders.
Right, so what we've experienced in the past is sometimes we haven't been diligent about getting them signed for Patty. So what we did is we had 3 people designated as primary signers and responsible for getting there and getting this stuff signed every week. And then if one of us can't make that, then we ask one of the other board members to fill in. And that's worked pretty well for the last period of time.
But we don't
So-
have one of those. We don't have that now
Right,
because
we did,
as a formal motion, I mean.
right, so I agree with you. I think we should do that and make sure we know who's gonna be primary and then who's gonna fill in when that doesn't happen. We lost Tristan here, so maybe we should put that on the next meeting, Paul, to try to get that done.
Well, I mean, right now it's you, Louis and Patrick.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's,
the way I understand it is it's Hugh, Lewis, and Tristan. And then if one of you isn't here, then you ask one of the others. This is what Tristan has done. He said, can you sign it because I'm not going to be there.
right.
But Paul, are you saying that contravenes the open meeting law?
Well, there's a statement about on VLCT's website about signing of orders, or they call them warrants because the school calls them warrants, and specifying who those people are. Because if you were to just stop by the town office and sign something, that's considered a violation of open meeting law. So when I read that, when I was looking into open meeting law, I was surprised, quite honestly. I didn't think that was a thing. So I just wanted to, if it's Louis, Peter, and Tristan, and Patrick's as an alternate, great, whoever it is. I just think we should throw a motion out there and approve it this meeting, and then have it be, if it needs to be revisited or Tristan wants to move things around, we can always make another motion at another meeting.
So there's two layers to this, right? There's the select board order that we do at each select board meeting. And then there's the road orders, right? The equipment and the labor for the road orders that we do every Monday, right? So I guess I'll make a motion that we appoint, I guess that's the right word, Louis, Tristan, and myself to be the primary signers. And then if one of us can't make it, that we ask either one of the other members to fill in for us. Is that making sense, Paul? Is that the way it needs to be worded?
Yeah, well, it says, how can we process payroll and other bills in between select board meetings? And it says, individual members may not merely show up at the town office and sign payment orders at their convenience, as this would constitute a violation of open meeting law, OML. The OML requires a majority of select board members to take action or to make a decision, that is signing an order approving payment, only within the context of a duly warned open meeting, 1 VSA 172. There are 2 exceptions to the above rule, which require the select board to meet at least once. First, they can vote at a duly warning meeting to pay something in advance, and then it's a done deal. Or the second exception allows the select board to authorize one or more members to review and approve orders on behalf of the entire board. A vote to give such an authorization must take place at a duly warned select board meeting and must be reflected in the meeting minutes. A motion to give such authorization may be phrased as, I move that we appoint, insert names of legislative body board members to approve and sign orders for, insert the types of items that they're allowed to authorize, such as payroll, operating expenses, etc., for a certain period of time. Any orders which are approved under this authority must state definitively the purpose for which they are drawn. The full select board must later be provided with a record of all orders approved. Repeatedly, if there are so many vacancies in the select board that a quorum cannot be achieved, the remaining members have the authority to draw orders for payment of continuing obligations and necessary expenses until the vacancies are filled. So that's what it says on VLCT's website.
Thanks, Paul. So that sounds like that sounds like we could actually appoint one person, one select board member to.
Yep.
To
One or
do
more.
the road
more.
commissioners' orders every week.
One or more.
Yeah, one or more.
Patty likes to have 3.
I was gonna say for, for the town and transparency, there's been a lot of questions about who gets paid what and all that kind of stuff. I think 3 is good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Great, thanks, Paul. So your motion then
So does my motion line up with that?
seems to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. Because your motion was that you, Louis, and Tristan with Patrick as an alternate, right? Is that what I heard?
And
Yeah.
me and you.
Oh, we're both alternates. Oh, okay.
Okay,
Right. So somebody want to second that?
I'll second that.
motion made second to have Peter, myself, and Tristan is permanent signers,
Primary signers, yeah.
primary signers of the highway. And Patrick and Paul as alternates.
For highway orders and treasurer orders, right?
Yeah.
Or select board orders, I should say,
Yeah.
right?
So that would be for both operating expenses and payroll.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion?
Can I just clarify? You just said that this is for select board?
What's that?
Move my executive session to the next meeting. I'm not staying here all night.
Okay. What's that one?
I'm sorry. I'm confused about, I thought that this would be just for highway expenditures, but I would argue that the highway expenditures are the biggest part of the budget, and we used to sign them at regular meetings. Payroll is one thing where you have to get it done in a timely fashion. The other orders, I would urge the board at some point, if not now, to consider bringing those back to the full board, because I expect everyone on the board to understand where you're spending money in the long run. So I think you've got to do what you need to do to kind of get the wheels in motion and to get the bills paid. But I do think that longer term, more transparency would be even better.
Yeah, I mean, we do review the select board order, right? Everyone that's here reviews it at each meeting, but, for instance, Tristan's not here this week and Paul's remote, so there's really 3 of us here to sign it this week. And that's the critical thing, is getting this stuff signed, because this order will have payroll on it.
Right.
And
but
it needs to be signed.
I definitely hear what Edie's saying, though. I mean, a lot of this, I was under the impression that it was the payroll that has to be signed every week, and expenses usually get paid once a month anyways. So then everybody would be able to be there and see the expenses for our first meeting of the month or second, whatever.
Yeah, well, the trouble is, when we had it it's a select board meeting on the highway, we got delinquent penalty. Because, if you went 3 weeks in between, even 2 weeks, because they only give you about 15 days now. And even now sometimes you get a penalty.
And so I would have just thought it would have been net 30 after invoice, but.
Oh, no, they got right on it 15 days, a lot of them.
Okay. And Paul, what you had just read there, it seemed to indicate that even though the orders have been signed, the whole select board has to review the expenses, right? So
it does say that, yes.
Yep, the full select board must later be provided with a record of all orders approved. Yeah, so there you go, that covers it.
I think it's
Good
because we
point.
make
Thank you,
sure that
Patrick.
we're doing that, then.
So I mean, I'm just to try to promote Patty's perspective a little bit, because she, she's the one that's gonna write the checks.
Yeah.
She's the one that bears responsibility for making stuff is done in a timely way. So we have payroll for highway every week on Monday.
Yeah.
And then along with that is some of the garage expenses kind of stuff, typically pretty small stuff.
Some of it's pretty big.
It can be, but mostly it's not. But once in a while,
Oh.
something big will break, and then it's expensive, but it's stuff that we need to keep the garage,
Yeah.
keep the equipment running. And that happens every week, and that needs to be signed every week. And it needs to be signed, typically sometime on Monday, can slip into Tuesday, but after that, it gets to be a problem.
Yeah, well, she
because-
has to have it by Wednesday morning.
Right, because payroll will be late then if we don't get that done. So that
She
one's
has to
time,
get to the bank.
right, time critical stuff. Then the select board order that we're doing tonight has payroll on it for treasurer, clerk, listers,
Right.
and some other payroll items, right? That's a once a month thing. That happens on the first select board meeting. It's on this week's order, and it needs to be signed, and we need to get that, again, it has to be on Patty's desk tonight, so that she has it tomorrow, in the morning, or that will be late, right? So it's critical that gets signed. And then along with that, there's all the other expenses that you'll see, right? The invoices that show up during the previous 2 weeks, right? And then for the next select board meeting, it won't have payroll on it, but it will have all the other stuff, all the invoices that show up. And it's really, all this stuff is time critical, because we end up getting penalized, right?
Yep.
Makes
Makes sense. And it might not be a big deal with the copier to just throw things through it and create a PDF and email them out.
Yeah, Rosa, you can
Yeah.
do that, right? Yeah. I think she's actually been doing that some anyway, so.
Sweet.
Okay, anything else?
So just on that point, so what I have here are 2 road commissioners orders.
Right, those are this week's road commission, because we didn't have a holiday yesterday, so we're just seeing them today.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but those other orders that you were talking about? are-
That's what Rosa's working on.
Oh,
Right here.
okay, I see. Got it. Okay.
All right, anything else?
Well,
Motion-
there was a
motion to
motion
adjourn?
made,
Oh.
Right.
seconded.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we
Right.
never voted on that. Good point.
Okay, motion made second to have Peter, myself, and Tristan be primary signers, and Paul and Patrick as alternates. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Okay,
Great.
anything else?
Motion
That's
to
it.
adjourn.
All right. Well, motion adjourn, I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. Does anybody
care,
ever
Paul.
say
Thanks,
nay to that?
I don't know.
See you, Doug and Mary Lou.
Nay, they don't.
So
Have a
this
nice
year,
day,
I
everyone.
gotta,
Okay, so,
Thank you.
See you.
thanks.
this one here, I think got the wrong